and we'll get started here. Now, I ran this 14 minutes ago just to show you where the strength is. This is my broad market indices. Let me go to choose group. And I'm sure you're familiar with this now. It's under my market analysis user groups. And if you, there's been a little confusion about this, so let me show you how to do it, although I'm not going to go ahead and do it. But if you're updating in the background during the day, and if you want the broader look at the market, that's why I call these my broad market indices, you can just go into the designer and build all indexes. If you just want the industry groups, all you have to do is go into the industry groups. And by the way, they are also located from this level, if I can find them. Here's the industrials. These are industrial. This is the industrial sector. These are the industries. And if you change to this, you can see that all of the stock indexes, or I'm sorry, the industry group indexes are in here. Or you can go directly, like most people do, you can just go to the industries and then select tools and just rebuild indexes and groups. If you don't care about looking at the entire spectrum or the broad market like I like to do, because it just gives me a better feel. If you just want to look at the industry group indexes, you can just update that and it goes much faster. No, Jack, you didn't miss a meeting. I just started. Can you hear me? Jack Friedman, can you hear me? Well, anyway, I don't know if he can hear me or not, but I'm going to go ahead. So this is the way it looked 15 minutes ago. You can see semiconductors, or the stocks, and not all the semiconductors are in here, of course, only 30 stocks, but there's a lot of buying pressure there. This one here, 04 broad market indices, tells you how many of these groups in this folder are up today, and you can see that out of all these indexes, 30 are up and only 2 are down. So it is a strong day as of now, but I can see the NASDAQ futures have backed off from, I think, around 140 to 86 right now, so the day isn't over. I wouldn't get too excited yet. But as of 15 minutes ago, there was a lot of strength here, and you can see the advancers versus decliners in this column. The only one that was negative was the utilities at 0.88. Anything above 1 is positive. Let me type to him. Okay, so I'm going to get away from this and move on and get started on the VPA stuff. Any questions about this? I get an occasional email. Okay, you can hear me good. And there's some confusion about this, and I just wanted to get that straightened out. So let's go on. I'm going to go into my all securities view right now, and then I want to I'm going to be concentrating on the quick start, on the VPAs. This is the end of day. As you know by now, the end of day and the intraday are duplicates, and I have to do both if I want duplicate or real-time quotes to show up, because the fields are different. That's why I do them twice. It's twice as much work for me, but, well, I shouldn't say that because the filter is made once and then I have to make the views a couple of times. But I've got it down now and it goes pretty quickly. What I want to do is suggest a few things that may help you find stocks a little bit quicker. Now, I'm going to start down here with the individual scans, and what I've added over time are some 2-day scans. Now, as you'll see, what I found out, there are just too many combinations of 2-day scans to make a scan for everything. So I am using these multi-scans, and I'm going to be talking about those. Before I go too far, though, I want to launch a poll here, and I want to know if you trade ETFs as well as stocks. Because if a lot of you trade ETFs, I may have to, well, I'll show you some things I'm thinking about. Okay, 16 of 19 out of 19 have voted. That's enough. That gives me a good idea. So it's about 2/3 to 1/3. But we might as well, oops, I'm sorry. I'm going to relaunch that. Somebody, no, that's fine. That's good enough. So it's about 2/3 do and 1/3 does not. So quite a few of you do trade ETFs. So we should be bringing ETFs more into the VPA, it looks like. And I'll show you a couple of ways that we can do that pretty easily. I can just add a few things. What I don't want to do is go in and duplicate everything for ETFs that I'm doing for stocks. That's just way too much. There's already too much in here. My quick start has turned into more than I wanted it to in the beginning. But that's just from experimentation and so on. First of all, if you go to your help menu and select help table of contents, and if you do a search over here for VPA and just click on volume price analysis over here and scroll down, the flags that I'm working with now are, Matthew set this up so I could go in and directly build filters directly with these, well, direct access is what I'm trying to say. So rather than having to create a filter with lines of text to get the signals, we know that these signals are exactly what I want. And you can come down here to the bottom in the help file, and if you see something that says confirm week 1 and it's a white box below the daily low, you can come in here and get a price bar description. And this is another test for supply. Most of the tests for supply that we're looking at are that it's that magenta rectangle, but there are other ones, and these are going to appear now that I am typing them in. Some of these really did not appear because there was a volume requirement, but now we're going to get all the flags. It won't make a big difference, but at least it'll be a little more efficient. Now, I have in the past sent out a link to a PDF of this file on VPA. If I remember it tonight, when I send the link to the video out, I will include a link to that PDF so you don't have to go into the help file. So it's just nice to have as a reference. And we're going to be looking at some of these flags right now. Now, here are some things that I thought you might be interested in, or I'm interested in, so my assumption is that you're going to be interested in them too. Rather than working with all securities, and I just had the all securities up there, if you want to limit what you're looking at, here are a few suggestions. Now, in the designer, under the smart groups, people are always asking me about, should I be scanning on box stocks? This is something Ian and others came up with long before I even knew Ian. And these are stocks that are showing consistent earnings growth. And it's in the help file what these growth figures are. I don't know if many of you know this, but if you go in the designer, under Ian Woodward and Ron Brown, under consistent earnings growth, you're going to find a breakdown of every box stock that's in here in different categories. So what I like to do, rather than coming in here, if you want it more accessible, what I do is I just drag it down to the user groups, and then you can go ahead and you can index these. So what I'm doing is I'm indexing. Oh, I screwed up. Let me cancel this. I'm doing all of the indexes. Sorry about that. Paul, why didn't you tell me? I'm going to try to cancel this. I didn't want that whole thing. What I wanted is consistent earnings growth. And let's take that down here and see if it works this time. Okay, so what I'm doing, or what HGSI is doing, is building indexes of the box stocks. Now, what does that enable us to do? Well, it isolates every one of these categories. And by the way, a lot of these smart groups limit the number of stocks that appear to 25. What this does, and let me get rid of this one very quickly if I can. What this does is it brings every box stock into play. So if I click on this, notice that there are 762 HGSI box stocks in here. Now, that's a lot of stocks to work with, and I can just screen on these using VPA or any other screening method, and I am limiting myself to stocks that have shown consistent earnings growth. And let's just do this quickly. I'm going to go back to this, and I'll just click on, wow, test for supply didn't give me many. Let's look at bullish effort to rise yesterday. I'm sorted on raw combo. You can see that 6 stocks appeared through here. And if I bring one of the stocks up, and then I'm going to go to my screen, my chart right here, and I hope I updated this chart for you. If not, it's just I will. I put the HGSI boxes in here. This is chart 01. So this is a box 8 stock. The flag sentiment is bullish. As of yesterday, there was an effort to rise, and you can see that this stock is following through today. But what I like about this is I can know, or I do know, that I am working only with box stocks by going into the consistent earnings growth. Now let's do something else here, or let me do something else here, and show you that if I take this filter off, all of these indexes are over here. And let's see if we can gain any insight here by going to the demand supply. We can also see how well populated these groups are. So sorting on this is advancers divided by decliners as of 30 minutes ago. These are the box stocks that are moving up. You can see under best criteria there were 9 advancers and 2 decliners. Under the growth stocks, 163 advancers, 38 decliners for a 4.29 to 1 ratio. High profit margins, 3.22 and so on. The least popular group today is stocks yielding 2% and above, and these are all box stocks too. But this is a quick and dirty way to limit your prospecting to box stocks, and you can see where the strength is. Now you could open the ranking module too and see where the long-term strength is. I'll do that very quickly, and I'll make sure that I'm on Ian Slow. And it says LLUR, or lower left, upper right stocks based on moving average extensions. The only problem with that is there's probably just a few stocks, and if I click back to the warehouse, it shows me that there's only 5 stocks in that group. So it doesn't take much to move that group when you're limited to only 5, but that is the best performing group over the long period. Now here is best criteria. This is also a very small group. Let's see if I can. Where is my best criteria? Oh, right here at the top. There's only 11 in here. And this, I'm sure some of you remember this many years ago. If you were at that seminar, we had a class function, and everybody had input, and we came up with what we thought was the best criteria, and that is how that was named. But these are all box stocks. So what can you do with this? Well, let's say you're interested in growth stocks today, and it's 4.29 to 1 ratio. I'm going to go to that index group, and now I'm going to quickly go down to the VPA, and am I in the intraday? Yes, I am. And see, if I go through these one at a time, I can quickly find some stocks. Here's Beat. This is coming back. I believe that's the one that reported earnings and had a really nice move up. And then with the weakening market, there was profit taking. Looks like it came down and bounced off the 50. And it gave a signal yesterday that there was no supply. Opened lower, traded down, and now this is a low volume test. Look at all of the pocket pivots that occurred here. I'm going to put this on here. This corresponds with a buyable gap up, as you can see, and it moved up sharply above the 3-day exponential moving average. So that is a very sharp move. This is a box 1 stock, which means it has had the most consistent earnings growth over multiple quarters and multiple years. So when it took off, it really moved up. Now you can see this has been a strong stock. It's been well above the fan, and then it broke down here, came down here as earnings approached and as the market weakened, and then it took off right away. Here is a stopping volume flag, and here is a test after that stopping volume. If you had the nerve to go in before earnings, it was a great ride over this multi-day period. But then it started breaking down. Anyway, you can quickly go through these and look for individual. Here's an up bar closing near the high. Effort to rise. There was only one yesterday in this group. There were 3 stopping volume or transfer of ownership. Now, I mean, that lets us hone in on stocks with those specific signals. Now, if I go to the 2 consecutive days in this group, which had quite a few stocks, I get nothing. You can see I get nothing in these. That's because there are so many combinations in the filter that have to be dealt with. And let's take a quick look at the filter. In this instance, these low volume tests followed by a confirmation of the low volume test. These two would have to come up in sequence. This would be 2 days ago, excluding today, and then yesterday. And these combinations just really don't come up that much. So what I decided to do is I decided to go with what I call a multi-signal bullish. And I have three different screens in here. One has all the signals. The second one has a fan up requirement. And the third one, this is for bottom fishing. Multi-signals bullish, 10 days since the bingo stock. And I'll go over these in depth here. First of all, here is the bullish. Now I want to show you the filter. And if you updated your files and followed my instructions, you have all of these filters now. Now look at what I had to do here is this would be yesterday, this would be the day before that. So if you're doing it this at night, this would be the nightly signal, this would be the prior day. Here's the buy condition. Here's the effort up. This is a low volume test. And a low volume, I see I screwed this up. Okay, I'll fix that. I'm going to fix this right now. This should be a low volume test 1. And I'll update these overnight, of course. Because what I'm doing here is I want both of these to be the same for today and the prior day. And I'm talking in terms of a nightly update now. So I want to see if these signals passed either today or the prior day. So I had a problem there, but I'll upload that and fix it. So these should be the same. And you can see that there's a lot of information in here now. And I am only doing common stocks at this point. There is one thing you can do quickly if you are screening for ETFs. You just come in here with the same view and select as an ETF, and you preview that. And these are the ETFs which had some of these which had these signals today. So you can do it either way. I'm going to leave it on common stock right now. Because what I think I'll do, since so many of you are also working with ETFs, and I am I've pretty much decided to go with these multi-signals, I could just add multi-signals for ETFs down here. I could actually get rid of all these, and I may do that eventually. But for now, I could just give you these same 3 views, and that would be for ETFs also. Now, of course, we wouldn't be working with box stocks, but if we were working with all securities, you could just flip from, well, why don't I do it right now? So I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to all securities, and you can see that there are a lot of stocks that pass this view, and I'm going to come back and review all of this. But let's say we want multi-signals bullish, and I want this to be for ETFs only. It's just very simple to fix this. There's going to be more views, but duplicate, duplicate, ETFs, filter, duplicate, edit, and I'm going to use all these same screens, and I'm going to change this common stock to ETF. And since I'm in all securities, you can see that these are now all ETFs. And I'll do that for both the intraday and end of day. And now I have to make one more change here. This will be number 9. Okay, so it would be right down here. What do you think of doing it that way? Since so many of you are interested in ETFs also. And if you go into all securities, you're going to have a ton of ETFs. And I know you don't want to deal with that. You're probably just going to look at certain ETFs. But if you choose the groups, and if you go down to my market analysis user groups, and let's just look at the major market ETFs and see if what pops up there. And you can see that yesterday there were a couple of signals, but before some of you came on, I had UNG up, and let's bring it up again. It was giving a bullish flag yesterday, effort to rise, but also when you bring the chart, darn it, sorry about that. When you bring the chart up, it's got this up here. It's an up thrust. It's called a nut. That signal is called a nut. If you go into the help file, you'll see that. So this is a contradictory signal. It was a short squeeze, obviously. Look at that volume. But with such extreme volume coming in and with shorts covering, what do you expect this ETF to do? Sell off. You don't chase ETFs like this or stocks like that. If you do, you might get lucky once in a while, but usually you're going to get your legs cut out from under you. And that's exactly what happened today. What I say, it's down 16.11% right now. So, question. This should have been a poll question. Do you just want me to add these multi-signals in here for ETFs also? Just like I did, I'll put it in for the 3 of them. I'll concentrate on going over these with stocks right now for the rest of this session, but it'll be the same principles for ETFs. I don't know if I can do an instant poll or not, but let's see. No, I can't. But if nobody objects, I will just add those down here. Now let's get back to the stocks. I'm kind of all over the place today. Sorry about that. I have a tendency to do that. Okay, so here's consistent earnings growth box stocks. If you want to concentrate on these, you can see, I know a lot of you like to play turnaround stocks. Right here, there are, let's go to demand, supply, turnaround stocks. There's quite a few turnaround stocks now. There's 86. These are box 7 stocks. 86 advancers, 31 decliners. You could limit your prospecting to that if you want to. You just change to the index group. And now I'm going to go down and look at this multi-signals bullish, and I'm going to go over this warehouse view. This is based upon my effort versus result combo, the intraday, and this combo works extremely well. What it does is that drives the stocks with the highest percentage intraday gain and that are trading high in their range and trading heavy volume to the top of the list. Now this column, it shows it only trades 206,000 shares based upon the 90-day moving average, and these two numbers right here are pocket pivots. It doesn't say pocket pivots, but this is the way it's set up in HGSI. So this would be the 5-day pocket pivot. This would be the 10-day pocket pivot. Let me open these up for you. Percent volume divided by the greatest previous 5-day down volume. I wish it were just named 5 and 10-day pocket pivots, but they're not. But that's what that represents. Now, yesterday, on this stock, ICU Medical, or the day before yesterday, stop volume after a downtrend. Strength seen returning after a downtrend. That's why I left these columns in here to translate this into English. But these are the actual VPA flags that are in the filter. And then there was a buy condition, an up bar closing near the high. So this corresponds with this corresponds with this. So let's take a look at this stock, ICU Medical. Now, it was on low volume yesterday. How do I know? Because I'm looking at the pocket pivot. You can see that there are no pocket pivots down here, but this is an expensive stock. These are the signals that were being generated. This gray line is what Ian termed as a bingo. It's an oversold RSI. It's an RSI indicator, relative strength indicator, when a stock is oversold. And look at these multiple VPA flags down here. Now, without even looking at the chart last night, I would know that there was a stopping volume from the prior day, which it's right here. Stop volume. And then there was a buy condition, which is really confirming that stopping volume, and that happened yesterday. And look what's happening today. I don't know what the market's doing right now. I assume it's still up. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, the NAS futures are up 106. So this stock is moving up. Now, I realize it's very tough to buy stocks that have gapped down like this, but there's always the smart money that are looking to get bargains. And in this instance, what are we looking at? We're looking at a box 7 stock. So if I bring this up, look at this. I mean, this number doesn't seem right, but 15,000% increase compared to 917. Well, yeah, a penny compared to $1.56. These numbers come from Zacks. I have no idea why this stock collapsed like this. But maybe some of you do. If so, you could post it in the chat section. But I'm limiting this to box 7. It's been in a downtrend, a huge sell-off, and I assume this happened on earnings, but yet these VPA flags are giving us signals that bargain hunters or people that see value in this stock are in there buying. It only trades 241,000 based upon a 50-day moving average. But what's your risk down here? Well, your risk is that it could keep going. But we're seeing several bullish flags here. Here is bullish and then a negative, but notice how support held through here. And then when this closed on the high on stopping volume, that was a pretty good indication. Let's take this over there. That they were stepping up to the plate. See if I can zoom in on this a little bit. Right here. Okay. And yes, it does take courage to do this. I'm not real good at that, especially with $220 stocks. But what we're looking at here is the efficiency of the signals. Do they work? In this instance, it worked. Let's say if you bought it here, 221.16, and what is it today? Right now, why can't I see it? 242. So it's had a very nice move. Let's look at Light. This was another stock that really just got hammered. I think they're a Apple supplier, if I'm correct about that. And same situation. This may not have been on earnings, but it may have been on a earnings warning. Well, Tom, sell, put, or buy, call. You have to look at the options. Some of these stocks, that stock only traded 250,000 shares. It may not have options, and if it does, the bid ask may just be unbelievable. So I don't know. You have to evaluate it. Maybe we can look at it in the Skype group or something. Anyway, very similar situation here. Gap down. It stopped right here. What do we have here? Strength seen returning after a downtrend. Let's look up here at the fields. This would be 2 days ago. This is today. Forget today. I'm looking at the history here. Strength down means that we're seeing some strength coming back into a stock that's been in a downtrend. And then yesterday was no supply. There was a negative flag here too, a pseudo upthrust because it moved up near the high and then traded down. But it's a spinning top and it's staying above support here, and we're getting movement coming into this stock now. It's clearly been in a downtrend, no question about it. But, if this market is going to hold together, bargain hunters are in here looking at this stock right now. Once again, this is a box 7 stock. Earnings are 256.3%. This had to be based upon outlook, this gap, I would say. Does anybody know for sure? Anybody follow this stock? Because the earnings growth is tremendous. Next quarter, they're going to drop down to current quarter estimate minus 14.58%. So it had to be on the outlook, I would say. Tom, on a deal like this, you say sell puts or buy calls. Thing is, if the stock keeps going down, you're going to be obligated to buy that stock at that price. If you buy a call, you're only out the premium. So, whatever. But I'm sure Light is trading options, and probably pretty good option volume also. It trades a lot of shares just by itself. Okay, these are some ideas on using box stocks, and I don't think that's a bad way to go. I just was playing around with this the other day and thought, I think this is something that they would be interested in, and we could limit our prospecting time. I still learn stuff about HGSI weekly. Just looking for things, different ideas and so on. And I think that's one thing that would work well. Now let me show you something, a couple more ideas here. And we'll be doing this VPA as we go along. One thing that I thought would work well with this is I'm going to go back into all securities, and if we don't get all this covered, we'll do some more webinars in the future. Well, we'll do a lot of VPA stuff in the future. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have Gil's files in here. That I put these together for him a few years ago. I really haven't done much with them. Tweaked them a little bit, but not very much. Anyway, here is Code Blue Pocket Pivots. Volume only pocket pivots. What's volume only pocket pivots? when those requirements for pocket pivots that I explained are right here, the percent volume compared to the greatest previous 5-day down volume. This would be a 5-day pocket pivot. This would be a 10-day pocket pivot right here. Since that is part of that view that I'm using for VPA, I thought this would be another nice group that you could check out. You can see that as of yesterday, there are 343 stocks that are showing either a 5 or 10-day pocket pivot. So if you hit your alternate G key, volume only, I'll put pocket pivots in front here. So I'm going to have a group of 343 stocks that had a pocket pivot yesterday. And I'm just looking at the long side here. You can do this on the short side too. So now I'm suddenly in this group. And now I can quickly go back to my VPA multi-signal bullish, and I know that every stock that I'm looking at here had a pocket pivot yesterday. So, and let's take a look at Tahoe Resources. It's up 4.89% today. It's trading at 100% of its daily range. On heavy volume, it had an effort to rise yesterday. And this column right here tells you the days since the last VPA signal. There was no signal the prior day, but it has a VPA flag sentiment of bullish, and it's in the precious metal and mining group. Let's take a look at it. It's a cheap stock, I think, and it is. Now, looking up here, you're not too excited about the earnings per share or anything else, but this has to be news or a group movement. Let me go down to chart number 2, which has the group, and you can see that the group has turned up. It's a little $3 stock, but it's made a nice move today of 4.89% following this effort to rise. And here are the pocket pivots, or here is the pocket pivot I was talking about right there. So by narrowing your list to stocks that had only pocket pivots, you're ahead of the game right there. So let's look at Canada Goose Holding. Paul traded this yesterday, had a good intraday trade. As members of the Insider Club, I send out, if you look in your non-index files, you'll see that every morning around 7 o'clock or before, I send out a list of earnings that are going to be reported today. He just puts them in his Thinkorswim, and he sees stocks that are moving, and sometimes he'll just go in and buy them. So he bought it slightly after the open here yesterday, and made a couple dollars on it or more, didn't you, Paul? $5. Anyway, it was a really good trade, and then he got out of it. But well, that's kind of an aside. But let's look at this. It's up 563 today in a strong market, but you can see how wild it was yesterday. Look at these wicks on either side of it. It opened up right here, traded down today, and as the market solidified today, you can see that buyers are coming into it. This was based upon earnings yesterday. So on the prior, okay, how many pocket pivots were there? There's another pocket pivot today. There was a pocket pivot the day before, and of course a pocket pivot yesterday. But there was a pocket pivot on this day along with stopping volume, and you can see both of these are right up here. Here's stopping volume from the prior day. Here is an explanation over here. This one gave one of those nut sell signals because it went too far too fast on extremely heavy volume, but it may be overcome because the earnings were pretty exceptional if I remember correctly, but there was a lot of whipsawing going on yesterday. But once again, I want to point out that there was a pocket pivot. Let's look at another stock. I'm not familiar with this. Is especially pharma. Let's take a look at exploration and production here. Don't know anything about this stock. It's a $13 stock, but it trades a lot of volume, and you can see that there were pocket pivots yesterday. On the prior day, there was a transfer of strength, the owner transfer, and then strength down, which means it's been in a downtrend, but strength is now showing, strength seen returning. Up bar closing near the high, it's a buy condition. And what's it up today? It's up another 6.07%. So this is a bottom fish, obviously. But here are 2 days worth of pocket pivots right here in the blue area. And here are your VPA flags, which correspond with the buy condition and the owner transfer strength down. Here it's bottoming out. Here is that owner transfer. Stock closes on heavier volume near the middle of the range. It really is a neutral day, as a rule indecisive, but it held up. Here was a buy signal the next day, and it is moving, and it's coming off of an oversold condition. You said MGY is this. Oh, okay, that's what I'm looking at right now. Well, yeah, this was really nice, and it broke down with the group. Look at the group line. I mean, we get so much insight with this program that you just don't see elsewhere. Well, Paul, maybe you can get back into it. I mean, if this group continues up. Okay, let's eliminate some of these stocks. I do that by looking for multi-signals with a fan up. So what did I go from? I went from 97 pocket pivots, volume only, cut it down to 23. Here's Goose on the top again. Here's that pharmacy. Here's KRNT, which has been moving up. 2 days ago, there was an effort to rise, as you can see, and then ownership transfer yesterday. It only trades 260,000, but look at the volume yesterday was 168% of normal. So 3 pocket pivots in here. Here was an effort to rise, which shows up here in this column. It's just effort up is the direct flag, and there it is right there, and then it moved up and sold off yesterday as the market sold off, but you can see that it is continuing. Let's see. Yeah, the earnings are out. They're not in the database yet. Let's take another look at this stock. Now, what I want to point out here is if you screen for pocket pivots, you can do it just like I did. You're not getting any VPA signals in here, but you can certainly just screen for volume-only pocket pivots too and help you catch some of these stocks. Now, this would have appeared right here through this screen, and it would have appeared also in this one right here, number 8. Multi-signals bullish 10 days since a bingo stock. How do I know it appeared there? Because it met the criteria. Now let me bring that chart up again. Okay, right here is your bingo. And if a VPA flag appears within 10 days, this stock is going to appear through this screen. Now, I don't know how many of you like to bottom fish, but sometimes it can get you in on stocks that have just had a pullback. Let me put a weekly on this. Now, it looks totally different, doesn't it, when I put the weekly on it? Usually, as you know from watching these webinars, I like to have a weekly chart up and a daily chart up, but I thought that would be too much screen area taken up this time. But this is a pullback. For all you Fibonacci fans out here, you could go down here to this low, could have taken it to this high. You could see that it's around a 38.2% pullback, which is not uncommon if you are using Fibonacci. There are tools in here that I don't use enough of, but anyway, that's just an example. But you can see it isn't much of a pullback on a weekly chart when it looks so much dramatically different on this daily chart. Okay, so where am I? This is the, let's look at, there's that Tahoe Resources. Let's look at another stock or two here. High Crush Partners. Here's a name that we're familiar with. Let's look at a weekly of this. You can see that the weekly fell off from 16 and went all the way down to in the $6 range. And you can see that here's the oversold level. This was a support area here based upon a low volume test. Tried to go, failed. You just take the loss if you took that trade. But the group certainly isn't doing much here, is it? Now we're starting to see some progress in the group. Remember, I am in the Pocket Pivots group that I created. And here they are right here. The group is turning up. Here are pocket pivots. There were no pocket pivots along here except negative pocket pivots. We're looking for the blue ones. We're not looking for the red ones, okay? So this is a false signal, and there wasn't any volume to support it. Now there is volume to support this trade. Here's the effort to rise, and these were showing up, or this one was showing up, and it tells you this is the days since the bingo stock. Happened 7 days ago. If you count back, that would be 7 days when it got into the bingo. And then here's your first VPA flag after that. This is a tough stock to trade, though, because we've seen it collapse too many times. But I'm just pointing out technique more than anything right now. So you've got three of them here. You've got multi-signals bullish if you want to look at a whole bunch of stocks. This one is a fan up, and this one is a bottom fish. And I have the reverse, I believe. Well, I just have, I don't have the top fish. There's no such thing, but I do have bearish signals. And when you look at these bearish flags and you see a lot of green here, you know that there's a bottom fishing going on. And this would be Pixelworks, which I believe is in these semiconductors. I saw this earlier. And, bottom fishers are moving in. So if you're real aggressive, you can come into the multi-signals bearish and look for stocks that are really beaten down. Here's Pixelworks again in here because its fan was down also. I'm not recommending that you do this, but I'm just saying it's something you can look at if you want to. So I have the bullish and the bearish. These are under 2-day scans bullish. I may change these again in the future, rearrange some of these, eliminate some of these if they're not doing any good. But I'm going to be prospecting with the multi-signals rather than the individual scans, except I'll use the individual scans daily, but the 2-day scans, there are just too many combinations. Yeah, I know, Pete. There has not been any good news about that stock. But somebody's in there buying it the past few days. You can see that it's putting a bottom in. I'm just looking at the technical stuff. And somebody evidently thinks that they can make some money, or, they are making some money on it, at least in the very short term. Okay. Okay, so that's what's happening with TAHO. It's being bought by PAAS. Thank you. Okay, let's see what else I want to do. Okay, so those are a couple of things, couple of groups that if you're playing the long side, the consistent earnings growth, here's pocket pivots volume only. This one could be updated weekly or dragged down here weekly if you want to drag it down. This one would have to be updated daily, okay? Because you're going to have a new group tomorrow. Now, here's another thought or two. I'm going to go into all securities. I didn't want to do that. I'm going to choose my group. And I've had a shadow stocks smart group for a long time. What I did is just type in shadow stocks and look under Ron Brown. Here's up on volume, down on volume, and then in basic, just go into the basic end of day or intraday and click on shadow stocks. And what are shadow stocks? These are stocks trading under $30, and they have to have some positive earnings growth over the last 2 quarters. I didn't specify much earnings growth, greater than 0, and consecutive quarters of earnings increases greater than or equal to 1. But I know a lot of you like to look for $30 stocks and below, so I thought I would just put this in here once again. By the way, this search is really handy that Matt put in a while back. It's right here under basic intraday scans or end of day scans, either one. And it's number 13. So I'm just going to make a group of this that you could update this one weekly also. Okay, and I'm going to make a group here. And you can go through the same process that I was doing before. Let me turn my phone off. I had a call there I don't want. And you can just prospect for shadow stocks. You create your group. And you go back up to the quick start. I'm going to do the 2-day scan. And let's say I'm only interested in these stocks that are in a fan up situation. So that cuts 399 stocks down to 9, just like that. And if you look at this, you can see that most of these stocks are up today. Now, specialty pharma, I know that a lot of you people don't like to trade specialty pharma stocks, but this is a quick way just to find them. Let's look at multi-signals bullish. That opens it up to 56 securities. I sort on raw combo. Upland Software is at the top of the list. It tells me that yesterday there was a no supply bar. It also tells me the volume was very light on a stock that only trades 200,000 shares today. Here's an explanation of this. And let's take a look at this stock because it's up 4.67% today. trading at 91% of its daily range, and its volume is running above normal. I guess is that the same stock I was looking at? That's what happens when you update in the background. Yeah, Paul, that's been in there. And I wish you'd quit calling it the J flag too, because it leads to more confusion. Individuals or 2 days. Let me see if I can find it. Right here. Okay. What it technically is, it's a low volume test followed by a confirmation of the low volume test. And if I bring this chart up, you can see that there you are. Here's your low volume test. Here's a confirmation of that. And that's what you're looking for. It only brings up one stock out of these shadow stocks, but that would have been a good trade today. Okay, why is it called the J flag? One of our users, Jay Robinson, who's on vacation, started looking for these flags, this combination of flags, and he was trading stocks that were showing a low volume test and then a confirmation of that test. But yes, it is in there, and it is right here. The 2-day scans bullish. It's number 3. Let's go to a all securities list. Look at this. Out of all securities, only 2 stocks show up. Now you may start seeing more stocks. This was another good trade here. Yeah, it does work. It doesn't work all the time, but it works a lot. Why? Because there is a test and then there is a confirmation of this test. If the test is confirmed and the market's decent, there's a pretty good chance it's going to follow through at least on the following day. So you're not going to get many stocks. Let's go in here and take a look at this. And this is the way it's set up, Paul and everybody else. Dollar trading 100,000, low volume test. 2 days ago, low volume test. VPA flags equals low volume test 2, which is a confirmation of that first test. This is one that I would certainly keep in here. But a lot of stocks are very few. Some of these screens, there are no stocks that pass through. At least I haven't found them yet. But as the market changes, that may change also. I'll just leave these in here for now, and you can play with them. And if I come up with some good combinations, they will go in here. I'll probably do some rearranging and so on. Okay, so that's a shadow stock. So we have box stocks, we have shadow stocks, we have pocket pivots, and I want to do one more that I think you may be interested in if you're a dividend investor. I'm going to choose the group. I'm going to go down to my user groups. I didn't want that. Go into the market analysis user groups, and there is a group in here called PowerShares Dividend Achievers. And occasionally under there, these are the industry groups that they belong to. But if you like stocks that pay dividends, and this list is maintained by PowerShares. I don't have anything to do with it, okay? And let's just take a look at this here. Let's do the 2-day scans. Fan up. If I take this filter off, there are 264 stocks in here. If I reapply the filter, there are 10 stocks in here. So let's just take a look at this. Atmos Energy Corp is the top stock. Yesterday there was an effort up, effort to rise. You can see that there was no pocket pivot yesterday. That's what these two columns tell us. Let's take a look at the next one. This only trades around 300,000 shares. It's up today on heavier volume. There was a pseudo up thrust yesterday following an effort up the day before. So what happened? It moved up the day before on this effort up, and then it failed to follow through because the market was weak yesterday. And then today, if this is correct, and I assume it is, this is from Thinkorswim, it traded down, buyers stepped up. This is stopping volume along with strength seen returning after a downtrend, this yellow, and there was a pocket pivot today. But here's your pocket pivot, an effort to rise, and it is moving up today. So I just use this warehouse view to try to visualize what these stocks are doing before I bring the chart up. Let's look at this one right here. 2 days ago, low volume test, nothing yesterday, but there was a pocket pivot yesterday. So let's see how this stock looks. Oh, that doesn't look right, does it? Let's see. Heiko Corporation. Okay, low volume test right here. Yesterday it got knocked down. So that's why this column is blank from yesterday. It didn't generate a signal, and today there's another low volume test. So you just have to bring up the charts and see what happened. I'm looking for, when I say there was a pocket pivot, there really wasn't a pocket pivot. Let's see here. But volume ran. It's a pocket pivot because there was more volume. Now that doesn't seem right though. I'll have to check that one out. Low volume test. Volume was heavier than normal both on 5 and 10 days. Okay, there was no down pocket pivot prior on those 5 or 10 days. That's the way I am looking at it. Anyway, you look at the chart. Paul, you'd have to look for the multi-scan signal for the J flag, but why would you do that? That's too much work. So just come in here and click on number 3. And that will sort everything out immediately. What I want to do here is, I forgot, I lost my train of thought here. If you're looking for power shares, dividend achievers, let's just go to this chart right here. You just bring up the fundamental panel, and then you click up one, and this shows you the dividend growth over the last 10 years, 11 years. So if you're looking for a stock that is yielding, and here's your yield right here, you could concentrate on these power shares dividend achievers. But anyway, Paul, getting back to the J flag, there aren't enough of them. You'll just waste your time looking for them. So you just come in here and you click on number 3, and it brings them up immediately. Yeah, Pete, it's picking up both positive and negative. But normally on those on the negative pocket pivots, the price is down. That's what kind of threw me. Now, if you want, let's do this because I can see this is not going to go away. How's that? It'll be in the notes. I don't want to add it on here because it'll be too much, okay? And is it all one word or two words? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just a reminder. I should do that for everything, but I just don't have time. All right, any questions? I know I tried to cover a lot of material today, but I think if you do this, if you stick with rather than going to all securities, which you can do, but if you want box stocks, shadow stocks, pocket pivots, or dividend achievers. Those are just four ideas, but there are a lot of other ways to do this. You can go into any of the smart groups. Let's just go into Jeffries here, and let's do the squeeze, and let's do the multiple signals, and you can see that yesterday on the squeeze there were several efforts to rise. These are all efforts up. Now, I'm on end of day. Let's see how those did today. I'll go do the same thing in the, if I can find where I am here. And look, a lot of these, let's sort on these. The efforts up, well, here was strength in a downtrend going up. Let me sort on this. What is this? This is a diversified bank. Volume was not what it normally is. But it was coming out of a squeeze, and this was a good trade. Yeah, we were doing shadow stocks, but this is a good one to go to. You use Jeffries' squeeze, and here's another squeeze. So there's all kinds of things you can do. You can be creative about this and really cut down on your processing time. All right, any questions? Did I throw too much at you? Good, I'm glad I didn't. All right, I'm going to end this meeting. Yeah, Tom, you might have to log in. Bring some of your friends along. Actually, this was just for Insider Club members. Yeah, thank you. And I want to emphasize that I'm just kind of getting started on this too, with these VPA flags here and so on, converting all these over. But I think the multi-view really is the way to go, and there will be tweaks on this to help us find winners quicker. All right, I'll be in touch. Thanks a lot. Bye now. Thank you.